Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My brothers and sisters, the last time I was live on Instagram, there were a few people asking questions, and some of those questions were very concerning. They were really questions of great concern. People were asking, are you allowed to be intimate with your spouse during the fast? Now that is quite a strange question, but then again, there are people who probably are ignorant. Fasting from dawn to dusk means you abstain from food and drink, you abstain from foul language and so on. You also abstain from sexual intercourse and, sexual intimacy with your spouse during the daylight hours. Now, that which is haram and prohibited is obviously haram inside and outside of Ramadan. If someone was doing something haram and were to engage in haram sexual acts during the fast, then that would be a double sin. One, for it being haram, and two, for it to be breaking the fast in that way. But another very important point is your own spouse as well. You cannot have sexual relations with your own spouse during the daylight hours of Ramadan. At night, it is permissible. The Quran expressly mentions the night and says that it is permissible. So it's not like you have to stay away from your spouse for the entire month, but rather in the night, when you're allowed to eat and drink, then you're also allowed to engage in sexual relations with your spouse. But my brothers and sisters, if someone does do that during the daylight hours of Ramadan, then it is a major sin. And in order to compensate for that, you would have to fast 60 consecutive fasts after Ramadan and seek the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is something that people don't like to discuss, but it needs to be discussed. Someone also asked in the live session, is it permissible to masturbate during the fast? Does it break the fast? The answer is it definitely breaks the fast, and you would have to make that fast again sometime after Ramadan and seek the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those were the two matters that I decided to speak on. It's not so common for people to speak on this, but I think people needed to know this. The issue of masturbation, it definitely breaks the fast. And if you have done this, then you need to do two things. You need to compensate that one fast that was broken due to that masturbation, and at the same time you need to seek the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what happens. And if it was proper intimacy where there were sexual relations that took place between a spouse or between spouses, then not only is the fast broken, and not only do you have to seek the forgiveness of Allah, but there is a huge penalty for that. If it was haram and a person actually did something that was prohibited, then it makes the matter even worse, which means if you had sexual relations in an adulterous way, or fornication during the fast, then it's worse, because that is prohibited even if you're not fasting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. I was in two minds whether to talk about this or not, but many people told me, no, look, these questions were asked, and they were asked several times during the live session, so therefore please can you address this. I mean, imagine people thinking masturbation is okay and it doesn't break your fast, and they keep on fasting. In fact, you would also need a ghusl. If a person were to masturbate, not only is the fast broken, but their wudu and ghusl is actually nullified. They would need to bathe again before they can pray or read the Quran. So please remember these rules. And like I say, it's difficult to talk about it, but subhanallah, I think you would appreciate that someone had to say it. Sadly, it had to be me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive every one of us.